Welcome back to the sweatshop, boys and girls. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2013 Fiat 500 Turbo. What we're doing on the Fiat, boys and girls, is we are changing out the coils and plugs. This is definitely something you boys and girls can do at home. It looks intimidating because you got all that crap on top of the engine, but it's mainly just air intake work. Now, a bit of background with this car. Basically, we have an issue where it's causing a sporadic misfire. We've got a number of other codes, and I haven't really looked at this thing much or done much with it. So the customer has brought me these spark plugs and coils, and we are going to swap them out and hope for the best. Hopefully it solves this issue. I don't think it will, but nonetheless, it is a good video for you boys and girls out there in case you are trying to swap these things out on your car, and hopefully it gives you a helping hand. Of course, that being said, do me a big favor, boys and girls, and hit that subscribe button to support my work. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And of course, thank you for watching. Now, let's go ahead and start getting these plugs out of the car. Now, I'll tell you, boys and girls, it's not rocket science. For the most part, this thing it looks intimidating because you have all these funny looking plastics and whatnot over, plus it's a turbo, so that always makes it a little bit more complicated. Nonetheless, all we really need to do is just disconnect this hose here and this inlet hose here. That's all I can see for now. Of course, I can't remember every little thing, but I'm pretty sure that's all we need to do on the Fiat. I think there's another little tube that we have to disconnect. I think it's this guy here. But anyhow, what we'll do is we'll start off with the two big ones and then we'll go for the smaller ones. Of course, you'll need an 8mm for this guy here. Just loosen up the clamp, of course. With the clamp loose, you can go ahead and grab a hold of this guy here and just gently shake it loose. I mean, realistically, you don't even have to take this side off. Now, with this system, there are two little rubber pieces here, and I think there's a hook in the back there that we need to release. So just pull up on this guy here. That guy's already off. With that guy out of the way, let's go ahead and release the intake tube. Same sort of thing, boys and girls. What you're going to do is just wiggle this guy loose, at the same time lifting up on the contraption. It should come out. Don't yank too fast. Let's see if there's anything else connected. No. So, boys and girls, there you can see it's not too hard. We've got three connections tube-wise. We got the big one here on this side, this one here on this side, and this small one here that connects right there to that portion of the intake system or breather system. Now, the other thing we have to deal with is these four guys here. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4 up here, which we need to just lightly yank up on. Don't be overly aggressive with it. It will break and you will cry. Now what we need to do, boys and girls, is get ourselves a 10mm, a flat screwdriver, so we can get in between these little plugs here and take them off without breaking them. And we also need to get a needle nose pliers so we can pull this hard tube out of the way. Remember one thing, boys and girls, whenever touching anything on these vehicles that are mainly made out of plastic, you want to be very careful with the plastics because they will break. Of course, today is a Sunday. I don't know why I'm working on a Sunday. Well, I do know why. I just don't want to talk about it because it'll make me cry. Anyhow, boys and girls, what we need to do is pull this breather tube here off, and then we can access our plugs nice and easily. Get yourself a nice needle nose vice grip. This thing is one of the best things for dealing with these little clamps. And then just gently pry up on the clamp, or pull up on the clamp as you clamp down on it, of course. Yeah, today my English is all over the place because my head's all over the place. And then with this guy here, you're going to release it the same way and move it back onto the hose. Then what we're going to do is just see if we can slightly yank up on this guy. She doesn't really want to move right now, so we're going to have to get a clip remover to help. Grab something like this or a flat screwdriver and then gently try to separate the rubber. Very gently, because it will break. What you can do now is just twist it back like that. If this guy moves freely, and you're good to go. Now, boys and girls, go ahead, get yourself a small flat screwdriver and then take these guys here off. What you need, boys and girls, is a small pocket-sized screwdriver. What you're going to do is simply pry up on that guy just a bit to release it. Of course, if this thing's been worked on before, you may see that there is damage to them. Once you pry up on that guy, you should be able to just sneak the coil wires out. Now, the thing that's kind of confusing with this guy here is there's a little bit of length on these wires, so sometimes, somehow, people will mix them up. Really, the only one that can get confusing is the number 1 cylinder. Somehow I've seen people wrench this shit out of the harness and put it back where it's not supposed to be. Obviously, you don't want to make that mistake, so if you're easily confused, take this guy here and place it over here. That way you're for sure that you're not going to make any mistakes. Now, grab your favorite 10 mil and fire these guys out. Of course, go ahead and yank your coils out. Inspect for any oil, residue, or damage. Don't mix them up. Oh, we got a little bit there. And of course, with all of our coils out, what we need to do, boys and girls, is turn on our light, inspect inside the holes for any residue, debris, and dirt. We only have a little bit of oil from what I can see in this front portion here, and it looks like it's dripped down from where someone has tried to fill it up. So I'm not really concerned about the valve cover gasket. Of course, if you did see leaks, that would be something to be concerned about. Now, what I am going to do, because there is a bit of dirt down in there, is I'm going to spray some brake clean down in there, and then we're going to take our blower and blow out the holes. I'm going to do that off camera because I don't feel like cleaning my camera when all the debris goes on top of it. I'll be back. Well, boys and girls, you should end up with a result like this where all the holes are oil and residue free as well as debris free. You don't want any crap in there. Now, once the holes are clear, you can go ahead and fire those plugs out. Now, boys and girls, you will need a 5/8 or 16 millimeter plug socket in order to pull these guys out. Now, I don't recommend using a Outtakes gun, but I'm in a time crunch, and unless you're skilled with one of these things, you shouldn't use one either because you don't want to damage anything. You can break them loose by hand first, which I have done, and then fire them out. One, we got to inspect them to make sure they're not falling to threads. Now, that doesn't look so good though. But, well, don't mix them up because you want to be able to tell if there are any issues. And we can see here, it looks like all the plugs are burning fairly okay. This one here is the number 1 plug, and it looks like it's a little bit more black than the others. But, and when I'm saying black, I'm talking about just the tip here. We don't really care about the top here. That's a whole nother situation. It really doesn't affect us. So I can't really say conclusively that we have an issue with these plugs, but what to do? Of course, boys and girls, go ahead, get your new plugs, and I'll meet you back here. Here, and here. Now, boys and girls, we can go ahead and fire our plugs back in. You can also check the gap on these things, visually inspect them to make sure that they're okay in condition. These plugs here came with the car's previous owner, so I don't know the condition. I also don't touch these things with a gap tool. The reason being is because those tips are extremely fragile, and almost every time you try to touch them or measure them, you'll probably end up breaking them. So I don't recommend it if you're planning on doing the same thing to yours. Best thing is, of course, just get brand new ones and stick them in there. They're usually gapped right to the specification that you need, or it'll specify that you need to gap them. The majority of plugs nowadays don't need to be gapped. Now, I'm going to use my Outtakes gun to run these things up. Of course, before you do that, you always thread them in by hand. Do not use your Outtakes gun to run them up. That would be a bad idea. I mean, don't use your Outtakes gun to initially catch the threads and then run them up, because if you cross-thread it, it's not a good idea. Remember, slowly is how you have to do it. You do not want to wreck shit. Yeah. You can use a speed handle, any tool that you like, really. And number 4. Now, boys and girls, it's time to get our torque wrench. Torque spec for these boys and girls is 12 foot-pounds or 16 newton meters. Remember, boys and girls, it is important that you don't over-torque these, because that would be bad. And of course, it is also important that you don't under-torque them. Of course, boys and girls, we can now go ahead and shove our coils into the hole. Make sure that they are clean of any residue. Of course, as I say that, there's some crap on this guy here. Wonderful. Place them in the hole nice and gently. Make sure you get a nice seal, and then grab a bolt and thread them in. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this will help our issues, but hope for the best. prepare for the worst. Is that what they say, right? And finally, our last coil. Now you can put a little bit of dielectric grease if the plugs are a little bit sticky and don't want to go on. You want to make sure that you feel them engage with the spark plug, and you should be good to go. What I mean by engage is specifically you want to feel the tube provide some friction as you're pushing the coil down. If it doesn't, well, you might need to inspect it and see what's going on. Funny enough, I have seen in the past people who make some really stupid mistakes. Once upon a time, boys and girls, I had a customer who's attempted to change his own spark plugs, and the tubes were long like this, and when he shoved it down in there, this thing ended up getting bunched on the side of the spark plug tube. And how we knew that was because he had run the thing and heated it up a few times, and when it came out, the stupid thing was bent, and this guy was freaking nice and closed off like that. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. You want to make sure these things go down nice and straight, because if they don't, you can end up with the same stupidity and you'll end up with a misfire. That being said, grab your torque wrench, boys and girls. We're going to torque these guys down as well. Torque spec for the 10mm bolts, boys and girls, is 6.64 foot-pounds. I'm going to do 7 or 9 Newton meters. Now, whenever doing such a low torque value, nice and slow is the trick. If you go too fast, you might strip the thing or drastically over-torque it. And we're good to go. Our last step here, boys and girls, put those plug wires back. That's a thumbs up for me. Now go ahead, get your needle nose vice grip. The fuck did I put that thing? Damn it. What you're gonna do, boys and girls, is gently twist this tube back down into its home. Push the tube all the way on. Give this guy a twist so it's back in its natural position. And squeeze these clamps back into place. Okay, we're almost there, boys and girls. First, give it a check, make sure it's all okay. And we can now put back our intake. Now, boys and girls, always the key to success with a plastic part or intake or anything really that is plastic, be gentle. Do not rough it up. If you break it, you're probably going to have issues that tissues just won't solve. So, grab this guy here, slide in the back first. Make sure you don't get it caught on the wiring that's underneath there. Fiat. Didn't want to make it any bigger because, you know, what's the point of that? Well, this guy's missing the stud for that there. Okay. Tap her back home. Line up our intake tube. Grab your 8mm. Remember, boys and girls, just a hose clamp, so snug is fine. Alright. Not too tight. Oh, it looks like you're out in the back there. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Okay. Now, we'll turn our attention to this side here. Hopefully you can see it here. The hose connection just underneath there. That is the tube here, and here's the hose. Push that guy into place. Make sure it's firmly on. And then, last piece is our duct work here. Come on. Don't get all penisy. There we go. There we go, boys and girls. Spark plugs installed with new coils. Now, what we're going to do is start this thing up, take it for a test drive, and hope for some sort of miracle. Well, boys and girls, that's all she wrote for the Fiat Turbo. Hopefully, we have solved the issue for the customer. I don't have much hope. I'm really hopeful, but I don't think this is going to solve the issue. If we haven't, well, neither me or him will be very happy. Nonetheless, there'll be more possible videos down the pipeline for you guys. If there isn't, well, then you know that the thing got solved. Anyhow, boys and girls, hopefully you found it entertaining as well as informative. Of course, if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Welcome back to the sweat. You done moving, you fucking camera? A bit of background with this car. This thing has been through a few... Now, a bit of background. Same sort of thing. You're just... Don't kick the camera. Same sort... Yeah. Got 3 connections. Well, 4 of these guys here. We got 3 connections. One here, here, and then this small one over here. Oh, maybe I should look to see if it's on camera. And we also need to get El Nido. Boys and girls, what we need to do is pull the intake tube off. This little breather tube here, sorry. And once you apply that, they're a little... Of course, we can now go ahead and put our new plugs in. Wait, those are plugs. Das unplugs. Oh my god. These are coils. That's a thumb. Where the fuck are you? Well, boys and girls, that's all she wrote for this one. Hopefully you found the video entertaining as well as informative, and hopefully we have solved the issue here for the customer. Why does this fucking thing keep drifting over, man? Well, me nor him will be very...